All right, guys, we're back for part 2 of looking behind the kimono of Viking Capital. And now we're going to talk about the 9 components of driving LGS, leverage, growth, and scale. So what are the 9 components? Number 1 is planting the seeds. Number 2 is proving the concept. Number 3 is right people, right time, right seats. Next is fundraising smarter. Next is learning to drive efficiencies. Next is to diversify intelligently. Then we talk about delegation versus control. Then talent development, and finally, maintaining perspective. These 9 components have helped us really, I think, gain an unfair advantage over our competition. It allows us to stay growing while other people have folded, and it allows us to maintain the acceleration despite economic changes and challenges and economic cycles. So let's get into the first one, planting the seeds. So I think we had a good origin. We learned to become a level 10. We were probably level 3 entrepreneurs with a level 3 business skill set. And we slowly ascended that from a level 3 to a level 4 to level 5 to eventually, hopefully we're like a level 8, 9, maybe level 10 entrepreneur. But we also have a level 10 opportunity. What that means is multifamily, commercial multifamily real estate, that's $1 trillion opportunity. And so we're never going to run out of apartments to buy. We're never going to run out of deals. We're not going to run out of capital. So it is infinitely scalable for us in our mindset. The only thing holding us back is our mindset as a entrepreneur, as a business owner, and our skills of growing. Because there are already examples of people who've made it to 1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion, 20 billion, right? So in terms of capabilities, we have to be on the same level as the opportunity. Next, prove the concept. And so we've done that. We've done, I think, 24 successful multifamily transactions in our history. And so now we know what we're doing. We know what works, what doesn't. We know how to replicate it. And as we get better and better, we can do it with slightly more efficiency, speed, and in terms of scale, we can do bigger deals. We've recently did a $100 million deal. It was $4 million. So you can see the capabilities there. Those are the first 2 concepts. And now let's go to number 3. The third one is right people, right time, right seats. And so, if it was just me and Ravi and we didn't really have a team, we'd probably make more money personally, but we would have to do so much work. And so the lifestyle that I was going for would be impinged, not be manifested. Kiyosaki's cash flow quadrant, right? We have the E in the corner, we have the S, we have the B, and we have the I. The game of life is to go from unleveraged tasks and time and activities to highly leveraged tasks, time, and activities. One of the biggest things you can do to leverage is, one is labor, right, which is teams. Second is capital, right? Third is code, and whether that's real code or digital code, or it could be now AI code, and using ChatGPT and things like that. And the final thing is media. And so one of the most powerful things we've done is, over our ascendancy as multifamily owners, we started with just labor. That was the only leverage we had at the beginning. And then we started unlocking. We went from 506B, which is friends and family capital raising, to what we call 506C, which is raising capital from sort of crowdfunding model, where we can raise capital from people we don't even know, but now they all have to be accredited. So we ended up using teams, leverage, people. Number 2, capital, leverage. 3, we started using media. And then now I'm proud to say we're starting to use code. So I've sent Nathan Loy on our team. He's one of our operations directors. He's actually going through an artificial intelligence course started by Naveen Jain, one of the billionaires out there, who has a company called Moon Express and Viome and things like that. And he's spearheading a mastermind where key companies are participating, and they're getting a sort of an AI chief officer, if you will. And so we're making Nathan our AI chief officer, and we're going to really learn all these techniques and strategies of how to become even more efficient. So with the same team, how to get insanely more productive, right? Have more output, whether that's content, media, information, or even deal analysis. Can we automate, underwrite, all that? So that's another conversation, but I'm just showing you that, again, right people, right time, right seats, and creating a framework where we are shifting our mindsets from low leverage to high leverage. And obviously the team is part of that. Next is driving efficiencies. So the power of focus and the power of doing the same thing over and over again is the unfair advantage, is the competitive advantage. So there are a lot of people who get bored doing the same thing over and over. In fact, they switch from company to company, job to job, adding more and more businesses, right? So there's some people who have like, hey, yeah, I have 5 businesses, and when you ask what the revenue of each of the businesses, it's not much, right? But they have this bravado or this ego to show that they have these 5 businesses, 5 LLCs, 5 logos, 5 things on the website. It's more powerful to have fewer things, but go have depth and horsepower, if you will, than having multiple things. And don't get me wrong, we've made a ton of mistakes. I'll tell you a story. So after a couple of successes, we thought, hey, we're good at multifamily. We're leaving quote unquote money on the table. Why don't we go after student? I think we analyzed 4 or 5 deals in student housing. We got really close to buying a student housing deal, I think in Maryland somewhere, but we didn't have mastery of that market. There's subtle nuances and there's subtle things, and it would have definitely burned us if we had done that. We ended up looking at the CBD. We spent like a whole 6 months to a year looking at the CBD industry and looking at CBD farms. And I actually personally invested in a hemp farm in Colorado that I still own that is not paying me any dividends. So another mistake and another slowdown. And each time we go to these alternative asset classes and not stick to what we know, our core business, we slow down, we make mistakes, we burn energy, and we get distracted. And you may be calling it diversification, but I call it distraction. And it was probably a necessary lesson at the beginning, but another thing we've done is we thought about commercial real estate. We looked at retail strip malls. We looked at triple net leases. We looked at self-storage. We thought we're going to partner with someone on self-storage for a while. We looked at development deals. We looked at mobile home parks. We even went through a whole assessment of mobile home parks. In fact, when the crypto craze was going on, we had this quote unquote crypto billionaire come to us and say, hey, we're going to do these medical assisted living facilities, memory facilities. Why don't you do that side of it? I have all the money to do the things, but I need some earnest money from you. I mean, you can't imagine all the insane things that I've looked at outside of my core business, which is multifamily. And so I guess the lesson I want to say is to drive those efficiencies. And also the next lesson is diversify intelligently. Those were not intelligent diversifications. Those were distractions. Let's say I had skipped all that. I think those are 2 years worth of distractions. We would have had probably $200 million more. We would have probably, because we're at 750 million now, we would have hit our billion by then, right? It cost us about $250 million of assets we could have accumulated because of these distractions. And so when you ask me, what's the power of mentorship? What's the power of guidance? What's the power of someone else who was in front of you telling you what to do? That's the power. If you decide to do one less stupid thing or one less distraction that could save you 6 months to a year and that could add $250 million to your portfolio, isn't that worth it? So I guess multiple lessons here. 1, mentorship guidance from someone who's ahead of you. Number 2, shiny objects, promising businesses. But if you know your core business and you know your end result and you focus, you can get there by just being monomaniacally centered on your core business. And number 3, until you hit that, whatever that goal you set for yourself, do not stray, if you will, right? The way I like to think about this is, in the Matrix, I think there's a meta program and Neo's learning from, I guess, his mentor, the lady in the red dress, right? The interesting thing is, as you get more and more successful, there are always going to be a different lady in the red dress. And, maybe the lady in the red dress is easy to ignore, because you're a pretty successful, attractive opportunity. But every time you go to the next level in life, the lady in the red dress is there and becomes more and more attractive, more and more seductive, and more distracting. And you have to learn to keep saying no. So like we're about to hit $1 billion of assets. Now we're getting opportunities, $50 million opportunity. Are you interested? And learning to say no to that now is still very challenging, but I have to, because I have to stay focused. All right, getting back to delegation versus control. The interesting thing is, as we advance in our company, as we get bigger and as we're hiring more experts and team members, I used to know everything, like in the sense that, hey, the way I did it, that was the right way. And that's a little bit of ego. I'll be honest, that's the ego. That's like my controlling, my D and my disc score nature. But once I parked my ego to the side, the job of a leader is to grow more leaders. That's when our company really flourished, right? It's allowing these specialists. I have a director of acquisitions, and now he's my vice president of acquisitions, allowing him to tell me what are the right deals. And then I get to collaborate with him on deciding which ones we go after. allowing my marketing person to push back and say, hey, Vic, that could have worked when you were a smaller company, but that's not going to work now. And here's why. And me deferring to her because she knows marketing. It's me talking to my investor relations person and saying, hey, look, I can guide you as much as I can, but now you've talked to probably 2,000 investors. I've never talked to that many investors. I've talked to enough at the beginning to get us going, but as we've advanced in our company, I've been focusing on more high-level leadership things, and I missed out on that day-to-day connection with investors that I used to have. And so you probably have more of a pulse of what the investors are looking for, what they want. How should we language and message to them? How should we empower them? How should we up-level them? So I defer to him as well. So it's learning to give up control and to delegate, and not only delegate, but elevating my team. So I'm like reading a book called, I think 10X is better than 2X. And I immediately told it to my leadership team, hey guys, read this, is amazing. And I'm like, at our events, I'm always inspiring. I'm trying to compel them. I'm giving them examples of companies that do well or people that have overcome odds. And then I'm individually coaching them and mentoring them. Hey, what's going on? What are your challenges? How's your mindset right now? What's your physiology look like? And just keep coaching them up. So there's two strategies. You got to coach people up as much as they can, but if they hit their ceiling, or if the person that got you here is not going to get you there, then you have to coach them out. And so hire slowly and fire quickly. So hiring has become a superpower of ours. We've figured out hiring. Why? Because we made a ton of mistakes. We sucked at hiring, I'll be honest with you. There are a lot of people where, man, we hired them. We're like, oh man, this is amazing. This guy looks sexy on paper. And within 3 months, man, we had to let them go because they were not exactly what we thought they would be, or what we wanted. We didn't communicate clearly with them when we hired them. So some of it's our fault, right? So these are the lessons I had to learn, right? And it's interesting. I have less and less control of day-to-day operations, moving even faster as a company, because being in control also means you're the bottleneck of the company. So learning to let go intelligently and not just delegating and elevating, that is the key. Investing in talent development. This is number 8 out of our 9 things that drive a company's LGS, leverage, growth, and scale. So talent development is really important. There are people we've brought on, we call them aces in their places from other companies. But there are other people who were homegrowing. Like I have a person in my company, started off as a leasing agent somewhere, came in as an underwriter, now is operations, and now we're grooming them to be sort of a junior in command. And that takes time and energy, but it's worth it because validate their journey. If you power them, if you pour into them, and if you see some native talents, but you can add to it other skills, that person's going to really thrive in your organization. And so there's a concept of an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur. And so we encourage entrepreneurship in our company because everyone at some point wants, hey, what if I just break out on my own and do it? I'm like, hey, but we also give people opportunities to grow within our company. Hey, this is your little division and you can do it whatever you want. Here's your budget and here's the outcome we want. But it's up to you to create how you want to get there. And so like our director of investor relations, and he started with just himself. Now he has a team like 6 people that he's running. And so it was like a mini company within Viking that he grow and elevate. Same thing, in our acquisitions department. We're starting to do that in our other department, marketing department. So that's a powerful thing in talent development. And then finally, maintaining perspective. There are times where I'm highly impatient. And my team can attest to this, right? As the leader of the company, as a visionary, I'm like, man, why can't we go here? Or I keep comparing myself to other companies. Hey, so-and-so company is doing this. And I have to remind myself this, and I have to coach myself because it is important to know every company is doing their own journey. We're not going to replicate or copy anybody. Now, we can take inspiration from multiple places, but in the end, we're running our own journey. And so the best comparison is ourselves last quarter. So run in 90-day sprints and compare yourself to your sprint. And your goal is to be better than that. If you can continue to do that, you can not only 5x your company, you can 10x your company. And that is the truth. And so one of the biggest things we've done is we maintain a business operating system. So what do I mean by that? There are books like E-Myth by Michael Gerber, Traction by Gino Wickman, Scaling Up, Vern Harnish, and our personal implementer, Steve Prada, has a book called, I think, Strategy OS or Pinnacle. So all these things are very powerful in setting up a structure of growth, of efficiency, and of goals and milestones that you keep trying to hit and scale beyond. And so I think once we have that system in place, we run our meetings very efficiently. Our teams know how to operate independently and as a whole. There's great communication. We communicate in person every 90 days as we fly in together. Because our team is currently remote. We have Slack, which has helped unload our email. We use Asana. And so all these simple things really do help in efficiencies execution, delegation, transparency, accountability. We also moved from SMART goals, which I don't like because it was achievable and reasonable kind of things, to FAST goals, which the MIT Sloan School of Business talks about. FAST goals are frequently assessed, ambitious, specific, and transparent. So those are really the kind of goals that you want to have. All right, guys, that was part 2 of really how to be successful. Again, looking behind the dashboard of the vehicle we call Viking Capital. All right, be in tune for part 3, where I will finish with some of the biggest challenges we faced. How do we align as co-founders? How do we continue to push the boundaries to grow and scale? Maybe some of the biggest lessons I've learned of running almost $1 billion of assets. And once we hit the $1 billion club, how do we go beyond that? All right, so stay tuned for part 3. If you like this podcast, please hit subscribe or a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.